Hello, welcome to the show. My name is John Richardson, and you're watching or listening to the Richardson's Rubicon podcast. What is this podcast all about? Well, it's really about world building for writers and authors in the speculative fiction space. So that's things like science fiction, horror, and fantasy. There's also dystopian worlds and things like that. Where I want to avoid talking about stuff that happens in the real world we have now. I just want to niche it to fantasy and horror and science fiction. So that's where we're at with the podcast. And the idea of the podcast is to get authors on board, get them to talk about their actual practical world building tips. Yes, they can sort of platform their latest books and stories. But part of the cost of that is actually talking about the world building that goes into it. So for any of you who might be thinking about starting up and writing yourself, you might have some great practical takeaways from each of these episodes. So anyway, moving on. And another thing, I use Podmatch to basically get myself guests for the podcast. I don't use it exclusively. People actually email in and ask to be a guest as well. But if I am going to be sorting out the scheduling in terms of which episode goes out next, I always put the Podmatch ones out first. And the reason for that is I get paid for that. So if you're an aspiring podcast host or a guest, there are payment options on this Podmatch thing, which is really good. And it's very helpful to get yourself started. Anyway, on with the show. So the guest today is Aurora Winter. And she is basically the author of the Magic, Mystery and Multiverse trilogy. This has won awards, including the Reader's Choice Book Awards winner for Best Teen Book and also the Literary Titan Gold Award recipient as well. So she knows her stuff. In this episode, we have what's called theme-driven world building. So Aurora doesn't just say censorship exists in this world. She builds the world where speech itself becomes dangerous, which makes the idea of cross speech physical, social, and enforceable. So there's consequences to speaking and saying the wrong thing. The character design matches the world pressure. So our protagonist, Anna, is a teenage aspiring actress. And I must admit, I was like, oh my God, no, please. Right? Because it sounds like flavour rather than anything else, until you actually realize that acting, mimicry, and lying become survival tools inside a regime built around language. And the third system, or the third thing, is systems with costs and limits. So we get into portals, keys, maps, surveillance, the price of magic, what it costs to heal, why power is less important than choice. All of those really juicy questions. So it was a great interview. Loved having Aurora on, and I hope you enjoy the interview too. On with the show. Hello, we're back in the room.
I love your trailer. That's so fun. What a great start.
So, welcome to the show. My name is John Richardson. You're watching and listening to the Richardson's Rubicon podcast. And today I've got Aurora Winter with me, who is the author of Magic, Mystery and the Multiverse, which is a series of books, a trilogy, no less. Isn't that right, Aurora?
That's exactly right. Yep.
Yeah. So how are you today?
I'm awesome. I'm in Los Angeles, California, so I can't complain about the weather. It's t-shirt weather, which is kind of cool when I'm from Canada and some people are like digging out the snow, right? So
yeah, that's right. I could tell the Canadian accent, actually. I can spot that. So
house out and about.
That's right. Yeah. Yeah, well, it's very cold here in Western Scotland, so what can I say? It's not t-shirt weather, although some people will probably say it is. So,
you got your cozy sweater on, so that was a
that's
tip.
right, yeah. So, great. So, tell us a little bit about your book then. So, the main protagonist is a teenager or a girl called Anna.
That's right.
And there's lots of magic, mystery, and multiverse goings on. So, who is she? Who is Anna?
So I love Anna, and when we get into the world building, you'll see why I made these character choices. So she's a 16-year-old aspiring actress who grew up in the Hollywood area, and her father is in the film business. So she's really inculcated in the whole Hollywood scene. So as an actress, she's actually very good at fabricating. She can mimic voices, and she can lie very effectively. And we'll see how that matters when we get into the world building. But she and her brother end up going off on an adventure. But anyway, that's who she is.
That's who she is.
I want you to talk too. It's your show.
Okay, so, well, in that case, Aurora, tell me more about the book. What's the plot?
All right. Well, instead of giving you a plot summary, because this show is about world building, and I was thinking about it, I want to pull back the curtain on the creative process. Because you'll see when I tell you what I was trying to do, you'll see how the creative choices line up with that.
Right.
So I'm a plotter. So I first plotted out this trilogy.
You're not a pantser then?
I'm not a pantser, although it does change a lot as we go along. But I have a very strong plot. Well, my background is as a film and television executive producer and writer. Right. I'm an award-winning screenwriter, actually, which is why we've got the Anna Zest's YouTube series, because that's so fun. So, so as a screenwriter, it's very important to have a hook. Turning point act 1, midpoint act 2, turning point act 2, et cetera, et cetera. So you have to do that. You need to do that across 3 books. However, back to the world building. So in 2020, as you probably remember, was the whole shutdown and the COVID. And so I wanted to write a book that's a little bit like the book that inspired me to become a writer, which is The Lion, the Witch, and the Wardrobe by C.S. Lewis. I loved that book. I read it when I was 9. I remember reaching up on my little tippy toes to reach down the last book in the Narnia series. And when I touched the spine, I felt such a surge of delight because I got to read one more book, but also anticipatory grief because it was the last book in the series. Yeah. And in that moment, I realized that writers are wizards. And I decided I would do whatever it took to become the kind of wizard that a writer is. So I wanted to combine sort of the portal fantasy with the encouragement to become a better person we find in The Lion, the Witch, and the Wardrobe. And I wanted to combine that with my horror at how independent free speech is being stomped out. And during COVID, I felt it myself, like to not speak up, to not say, like, how come you're like canceling these doctors and nurses just because they're saying a different opinion and they're asking about where's the research? Where did they come up with 6 feet anyway? Like, how do we know 6 feet? How do we know masks make a difference? And I was just inspired to combine the adventure and the fantasy and the optimistic viewpoint with this theme of censorship. And so the trilogy, the Magic, Mystery, and the Multiverse trilogy, has a theme around identity and around choice and around speaking up. Right. And around truth. So in order to play with the theme about those kinds of things, especially the truth, I needed to make Anna a character who told lies at the beginning. And what better liar than an actress? So they're innocent lies. Like, she's performing, she thinks. And she's very good at,
Yeah.
And then over the course of the series of books, various things happen, and she actually gets a silver tongue. She loses her tongue. She cannot speak at all. Again, going with the theme, trying to dramatize in a young adult fantasy novel this issue of free speech. Well, what could be more extreme? I'm not being able to speak with no tongue. And then a wizard heals her and gives her a magic tongue, but it's a silver tongue, and she can only speak the truth. And seeing as she's 16 years old and is in a magical academy, you can probably imagine the embarrassing things that she blurts out to her friends. Well, they used to be her friends until she blurted things out, because she's got no filter. So I played with that because my theme is around censorship and free speech and identity and who are you anyway and who do you choose to be. And then thinking again through the theme, how could I make the evil character resonate with that theme? What would be most dramatic that goes with a theme about speaking up or not speaking up?
Yeah.
Well, the nemesis is like if you imagine the wicked witch or the wicked sorceress or queen, really, in The Lion, the Witch, and the Wardrobe. We have something like that. She's called the Crimson Censor. Like she's a censor. She has a role as a censor. She actually is from another planet because we've got a multiverse here. And that planet is very high tech. So we've got at least 3 different worlds, 4 counting Earth. So the evil being is from this really high tech planet that they've destroyed their world. And there's only a little bubble of safety underneath the royal biosphere, and the rest of the planet has been destroyed. They've destroyed their oxygen with a nuclear war. So she is going to be like the ultimate vampire and take all of the air from this other world because they need the biosphere. Because world building wise, that resonates with the theme of censorship or free speech. If you cannot breathe, obviously you can't speak. We say sometimes the expression, somebody walked in and kind of sucked all the air out of the room.
Yeah.
It's an expression, but it's fantasy. So I got to make that real. Yeah. So the evil character is literally working on sucking all the air out of a whole world. The world where Anna and her brother land is like, it's not the extreme fantasy world. We have another world with a lot of dragons and hippogriffs and unicorns. It's a sort of mid fantasy world is where they land. So it's not high tech. It's like horses and carriages and stuff like that.
So that's like a theme in the setting of it. So thank you, Aurora. You've told us all about the silver tongue and the fact that she can't tell any lies anymore. But what was the way that people could determine whether she was saying something bad in the first place? How was that detected?
The Crimson Censor does not act alone. She has a whole bunch of spies, so to speak. And she's actually the right hand to the tyrant ruler. There's another even more powerful being called Opus Dei.
Oh, right.
But how Crimson or Opus Dei find out who is saying things that are illegal is they have human beings betray each other, as you probably know. That's so horrible. But they've also got ravens. They got ravens that look like they're ravens, but they're actually Raven Sims. So they've got birds can be watching you and listening to you. And because Crimson Censor actually comes from a very high-tech planet, there are people on the high-tech planet listening and observing the surveillance of what the ravens are reporting. So they have like a high-tech surveillance capability, even though Telesora, the world where Anna and her brother is low-tech, but magical. Yeah. So they've made magic illegal, and they've also made the multiverse or any mention of other planets illegal, because the bad guys are actually not from another planet. So they decide that it's better for their PR and their political powers if nobody thinks about the possibility of a multiverse or other planets, because if they can't think it, then they can't do it. So, Crimson Censor has this bird that always pops in and says things like resistance is futile and discouraging things like that.
Brilliant. So this multiverse, and I'm quite fascinated, you've already named a couple of planets you've not named them, you've described them. So what are they, and how can they access these worlds?
Well, I've used the same kind of device that C.S. Lewis used in The Lion, the Witch, and the Wardrobe. So we've got portals. Sometimes, in one case, they're actually in a wardrobe, but in other cases, they're just other places. So there's portals that transport you to other worlds. So the world where Anna and her brother Zachary initially land is called Telesora, and it's a prosperous but maybe think Italy 1500s. Think Italy 1500s. So more aristocracy and horses and carriages. And they don't have things like newspapers. They don't have the printing press yet. So that's another theme, because I'm talking about language and free speech. So I wanted to have them invent the printing press and see all the trouble that would cause. And then the high-tech planet that the Crimson Censor comes from is called Avenir. So you, being from Scotland, you probably appreciate the little
Avimore.
So Avenir means the future. And then there's another world called Spellbound. So Spellbound is your really seeped in magic world with dragons and unicorns and hippogriffs. The middle world has got some elements of that. It's a little bit more like the Hobbity kind of world, not every street corner has got a unicorn on it. So we get to have fun with that, as well as Earth at the beginning of the book. Anna and her brother Zachary go from Los Angeles to London, thinking that they're going to go to boarding school while their father is busy shooting a TV series in Africa. So they're actually quite excited to go to Bee's Knees boarding school, but instead they go on an adventure. And their uncle is this crazy scientist who's working on this portal hopping device, but he can't make it work. But somehow when the kids get in it, well, for reasons we discover later, they make it work, and they end up stranded, actually, in another planet.
Right. Okay. That sounds really good. So this device, I mean, you've obviously stepped away from using the wardrobe, at least on this occasion. So is it a mechanical device, is it?
It's a mechanical device. It's actually a car. It's inspired by the Mirai hydrogen-fueled cars, but it's been modified by their mad crazy uncle, Christopher Lloyd from Back to the Future, who's modified it. And so they use it and end up on another planet. Unfortunately, when they land, there's four sensors, and they crash into one, and they kill her, or they seemingly kill her because she just vanishes. So. And that makes them instant enemies and instant friends. So just like in The Wizard of Oz, yes, a little nod to The Wizard of Oz. As soon as they land, and I'm having fun, giving a shout out to these books who impacted me and are so beloved over the centuries. Okay. So when they land and they run over the emerald sensor, they see her body, and then she's wearing these golden cuffs that are magical. And they're like, oh no, we have to call a doctor. Like, how do you call a doctor? We just landed here. We don't know. And as they watch and try to figure out what to do, and is she dead or is she alive? And Anna, reaches out to touch her to see if there's a pulse. And then the body vanishes. So she's probably not dead. She's probably going to regenerate somewhere else. But her magic cuffs fall off. And Anna is bewitched by them and puts them on her wrists, and they clamp on. Like very click, click. And these give her magical power, but she has no idea how to use them. So they're super powerful, but she needs to learn, or else, things will go terribly wrong. And then the other theme in the book that it was important to me, that's a little bit different from the free speech, is Anna's younger brother. He's the opposite of her. So she's an optimist. She tends to, always have the glass half full. She leaps first and then thinks it through. And he's much more a pessimist, much more cautious, but he's also recovering from cancer. So he's frail. She's athletic. He's frail. So as usual, make the characters as distinct as possible. And when they arrive in Telesora, Anna learns of a wizard who apparently can heal anybody of anything. So this immediately gives her the quest. Well, if they could discover this wizard's whereabouts, perhaps she could restore her younger brother. Anna could restore her younger brother to health. Yeah. And so she has a very strong motive that is also kind, and it it sends her on a quest.
Yeah. So this magic that this wizard possesses to create, heal anything, has that? I mean, you don't have to give spoilers away, but does that have a cost?
I know, because we have to hit the spoiler button.
Do you want me to hit the spoiler button? Is it a spoiler?
If you want, sure.
Is it a spoiler?
No, I'm not going to give a spoiler.
Right, okay.
What was your question about the magic from the...
Yeah, what's the cost of the magic? It's got to have a cost, doesn't it?
So the wizard Snapdragon, her skills have been a little bit inflated by legend. So she can't necessarily heal anybody of anything. But the cost of the magic is just depletion of your life force. Mm-hmm. In one case, in book number 3, there is a magic that does actually heal somebody who's on the verge of, that would be a spoiler. He's on the verge of something cataclysmic.
Someone needs a lot of healing.
and the cost to the person who heals him was a decade of his life.
Right.
So that was a pretty severe cost in that case. And that's one of the scenes that I'm most delighted with, that actually doesn't happen until book number 3.
Yeah.
But one of the things I loved about the book, The Lion, the Witch, and the Wardrobe, is C.S. Lewis has a more complicated character, as you might remember, like Lucy's older brother. I think his name is Edmund. He's right. Teasing her. He's being naughty. He's being a bit cruel. And yet Aslan, there is forgiveness, but there's also a cost. So Aslan takes Edmund's place and suffers great indignity. Yep. We think Aslan died. So in this, I really love that theme of forgiveness. I think that's something that's one of the things I love about fiction. Why not use fiction to inspire people to be better and to, yes, we want to have the white hat and the black hat and have the fun of that's the villain and that's the hero. But I also wanted to shine a light on the complexity of human relationships. So there's a very flawed character. I guess it's not a spoiler to say that he's actually the son of the Crimson Censor, and our heroine falls in love with him. Right. So he's a very complicated character because, for reasons that make sense, he's got a divided loyalty to his mother, to the planet that wants to suck all the air from where Anna and her friends are, and he's fallen in love with Anna. So he's understandably conflicted.
Yeah.
And there's a really powerful scene where we get to see if he will be forgiven or not. And it's a transformational scene.
Intriguing. Yes. So this book is obviously aimed at young adults.
Aimed at young adults. So the heroine is 16 years old.
There we go.
So
in fact, let me put you on the big screen. Hold on. I'll just put you on the big screen.
Okay, big screen. There we go. That's the first book, Magic, Mystery, and the Multiverse. There's the second book. This won the Reader's Choice Award, Best Book for Teens. And the third book is Multiverse Mayhem. They're pretty thick books. And they're available on Amazon or wherever books are sold. So, yeah.
Yeah, brilliant.
So I'm really proud of them. And they've won a number of awards, including the Reader's Choice Award. And one of the things I loved is some of the readers, in fact, from the book review organizations have said some really, really kind things. Let's see. Literary Titan said, "What surprised me most was how invested I became in the book's ideas about identity and choice. Anna's struggle to reclaim her voice, literally and metaphorically, felt raw and real, even surrounded by magic hippogriffs and portal keys. There's also a healthy distrust of authority that threads through everything, and the book doesn't pretend that good and evil are always easy to spot. I liked that. It made the stakes feel more grounded, even when the characters were flying through dimensional portals." So I get some nice reviews like that. That was from the Literary Titan.
Excellent. So, dimensional portals.
Yeah.
How do they work?
Oh my gosh. Well, there are keys to the portals. You can have the key, or in book number 2, The Secret Multiverse Academy, there's a lot of trouble trying to forge a key because they need access to the other worlds in order to trip up the Crimson Censor. They need to get to Avenir, and also in order to be safe, they might need to retreat to the magical realm of Spellbound, which is full of dwarves and magic. Also, the other thing, because of this theme of free speech, there's more rich oxygen in the fantasy world, Spellbound. So magic works twice as well in Spellbound than it does in Telesora, which has got decent air. And then Avenir, which has very toxic air and very low % oxygen, has really no magic. So again, since we're talking about world building, the theme gets worked through even into the worlds and how the magic works.
Yeah. So the dimensional portals, then back to them. So
back to the dimensional portals.
You've got keys. So how do they work then? You've just got a key and you could just go through, or?
Sort of. You have to be in the right place. Because the dimensional portals are not everywhere. So you basically need the map to where is the portal, or you need to have seen somebody use the portal, and then you need the key. Hidden. And in some cases, the key is something alive. So in one case, it's a bird.
Yeah.
So you have to catch the bird.
Yeah.
And in other cases, it is it's a unicorn horn. Also, so very subtly. You don't really find this out until book number 3, so this is a bit of a spoiler.
Hang on. I'm going to have to go with a spoiler.
Alert, we have a spoiler alert. Skip forward a few seconds.
There we go.
I love your spoiler alert. So I wanted to play with the idea that there are actually threads of love between human beings, which can also extend between planets. And so if there's somebody that you love on the other planet, you're more able to tune into where it might possibly be. And then your key will be more effective. Because the main problem is not only having the key, but there's so many worlds in the multiverse. How would you find the one that you're looking for? Like grains of sand on the beach. So one of the things I loved about Harry Potter is they had a subtle theme about the love between friends, and they had a found family theme. So I worked with that. And at one point, somebody important gets kidnapped and taken to another world, but that also provides a bit of a thread to find them.
Right. That's fascinating. And this is the first time I've actually realized that you've actually got more than 2 or 3 worlds in the multiverse.
Yes, that's true. We're going to get into those more in future books, but I had so many ideas, and it's like, that takes me 3 books just to cover the ideas that I've shared with you so far. Yeah. So basically the trilogy covers 4 worlds. It's got Earth, it's got Telesora, it's got Spellbound, and it's got Avenir. But there are other worlds. And there are other evil beings, and there's more censors. The other thing I didn't get into is Crimson Censor. One of her favorite things to do when somebody's not cooperating is she uses her technomancy, because it's really tech, to turn them into wooden slaves.
Right.
So I call those coercers, because that's what they do. They coerce everybody. So she has this army, basically, of human beings that have been turned into coercers. And it's tragic, because they sort of look like who they were, but they have no will and no emotions. They're just puppets. Yeah. And isn't that what happens in the extreme? If we lose our ability to speak up, we become puppets.
Speak up and think. Yeah, definitely. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. So there's your message.
There's my message. So yeah, how does Jordan Peterson say it? He does make it very dramatic point, which I'm going to paraphrase here, that it just seems like, oh, it's not that big of a deal to not speak up, not cause any waves, and just kind of not stick my head up where it'll get chopped off. But the overall result for society, when we as a group have a tendency to do that, is either tyranny or communism. And either of those extremes, either Chairman Mao or Adolf Hitler, neither of those are very good for anybody and usually result in millions of people dying. So in a fun fantasy universe, I guess I'm inviting the reader to be brave and to speak up when it matters.
Okay. Fascinating stuff. So, have we got anything else to say about the book at the moment then?
Let's see.
Because you have answered some questions which I have already put here, and you've already done them. So
that's me. I would go on a rant and then you end up.
Yeah, it's like whilst you were talking, I was going tick, tick.
Well, you gave me the questions in advance, so you gave me an answer.
Yeah. So I guess I've got one more question, really.
All right.
So let's go with this. So, and I don't know how good it is, really, but the power system, right? So what can Anna do at the beginning in terms of power, magical power, I guess, right, versus near the end? And what can she not do, even though she's at her strongest? So where's her limit, basically?
She's 16 and she's still learning. So she's not particularly powerful magically, even at the end of the third book. But she knows that if she keeps practicing and learning, she will decode it. So at the very beginning, she can't do much, although she does manage to accidentally turn a kitten into a wooden kitten and then turn it back. But by the end, she actually has a face-to-face fight with the Crimson Censor, which gets interrupted by a dragon. So we don't know who would have actually won that exchange. I wanted to give Anna the power of choice more than the power of superpower.
Right.
So how she chooses to show up, the fact that she goes so out of her way to save her younger brother who is ill, the fact that she goes way out of her way to save her friends in this new world, the fact that she uses her cleverness and her stealthiness and her puzzle solving and her ability to champion this cause and get other people to help her are far more pivotal to how she manages to succeed in the end than her having superpowers. In fact, she's facing people or sorceresses with far more power than she has, which I think is far more relatable. She's more Bilbo Baggins than anything. Like more like every person. So
every single podcast episode I've done on writing has had a mention of Lord of the Rings, Tolkien, or Bilbo Baggins.
Well, one of the best selling fantasy books of all time until Harry Potter. So I really liked having the opportunity to explore, what does a person do when their ability to speak, to lead, to communicate is stolen? Like what happens when she loses her tongue completely? And then what happens when she has a silver tongue and she can only speak the truth?
Speak the truth, yeah.
When you're a 16-year-old and you have a crush on a boy that's not in your best interest, that could be embarrassing. So we had it's a lot of fun. I think anybody who likes fantasy with maybe a little touch of romance, but doesn't get very steamy, will enjoy the Magic, Mystery, and the Multiverse series.
Brilliant. Well, thank you very much for your time, Aurora. It's been fascinating having you on, and I've actually really enjoyed this interview. It's been quite a laugh, so thank you.
Oh, you're welcome, John. Thanks for having me.
Okay.